Hey people of the interwebs, it is Q with another scuba diving adventure. It's actually a little bit cooler this morning than it was yesterday. We're down to 12.5 degrees. It is 7:25 on a Sunday morning and the weather has cleared up to give us an even more beautiful day than it was yesterday. Hopefully the water's going to clean up a bit more as well. We had a fantastic 10 meters of visibility in the water yesterday. I'm not sure what dive site we'll be doing today. We might be trying a new dive site at the end of Bell Street. But as they say, the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and we'll find out when we get to the dive shop. So maybe something a little bit different today. We are at Bell Street in Coromandel, and this is a dive site that we've been looking at as a possible dive site for quite some time, so we're just going to come down and take a look and see what the conditions are like. If the surface conditions are good, then we will be going in here. We've actually got a student with us today who's doing his 2 compulsory dives for a side mount course, so we'll see how it goes. Surface conditions are looking good. The viz may be slightly down here from yesterday. The only concern that's happening right now is they may not be able to get to the minimum requirement of 5 meters of depth without going out too far on a surface swim. Again, after wandering around the coastline looking at various dive sites, we've headed back to Kings Beach boat ramp. And just looking out at the water, we're on an incoming tide at the moment. Water looks about as clean as it was yesterday. After a brief and easy surface swim, we reached the point where we figured we were going to drop down. We knew we weren't at 5 meters depth, but we were going to swim out and find that depth once we hit the deck. We also had a scenario going on here where the instructor and the student were having to do 2 dives, whereas myself and Gordon were only going to do 1 dive. So it was discussed prior to dropping down that they would leave us and head back to shore after they'd done their skills and 20 minutes of time had passed. The minute I put my head underwater, I could see the visibility had reduced considerably from the day before. We dropped down into 3.4 meters of water, which is approximately 11 feet. It was 20 degrees, which is 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Everybody else dropped down after me, and dive lead indicated that the heading was 180, and we headed off in search of adventure. The goatfish who usually accompany us on our dives were not present for another day, which is unusual to say the least, but the same old fish with the black spot on them were back again. We headed off in search of a sandy spot because the student on the side mount course has to do some certain skills underwater, and over a sandy spot is easier if you're getting buffeted around by the surge. Side mount has some advantages over having a single tank strapped to your back. Obviously, the primary thing is there's 2 tanks, so twice as much air, twice as much dive time. And if anybody's into wreck diving or cave diving, then side mount is quite a useful setup to have if you need to get yourself through some very small gaps. Fish life was noticeably absent for most of the dive until we came around a corner, and hey presto, here they all were. They seemed to be having some sort of meeting. One of the bigger fish that we saw on the dive was this wonderful Wobbegong Shark. Beautiful camouflage, and to see one out in the open like this is so much fun because you get to have a good close-up look at the wonderful body parts and the whole thing. This guy seemed to be a little bit on edge at having 4 rather large divers circling him, and looked as though he was ready to take off at a moment's notice. He didn't, however. He figured his camouflage was enough that we really couldn't see him, and he was staying put. But just beautiful, beautiful creature.
This was only a small one, probably around about a meter in length, which is approximately 3 feet, but still capable of giving you a nasty nip if it doesn't like how you're approaching it or what you're doing around it. So as we discussed on the surface before we dropped down, 20 minutes into the dive, the instructor and the student headed off back to shore because they wanted to have their surface interval before they did the second dive. Gordon and I carried on, and we got ourselves into an area which had quite a lot of nooks and crannies with lots of interesting little things to see. This sea apple seemed to have some sort of hitchhiking snail in a shell on its back. I'm not sure whether this is beneficial to either party. One of the things you must always be careful of whenever you're snorkeling or scuba diving is putting your hands underneath ledges, because this is where the sea urchins hide, and those spines will pierce your skin so quickly and so deeply and then snap off. It makes it very difficult to remove the snapped off spine and causes a lot of pain. Lots and lots of wonderful, beautiful little nudibranchs on this dive, and these guys, some of them only as small as the fingernail on your little finger. Here's a wonderful little clam. These things are great. They are the filters of the ocean. They filter out so much of the junk, it's fantastic. Wintertime in the waters here off Caloundra, we see lots and lots of these sea apples. This one was a beautiful purple colour. And I'd just like to put my finger in close proximity to give you an idea of the size of these things. Whenever we're out diving, one of the things we like to do is pick up the lead that the fishermen can lose sometimes when their hooks get caught on rocks and they have to break the line. We also pick up the fishing line as well, because it is a hazard to marine life. At the end of 57 minutes, we came to our exit point right on the boat ramp. Maximum depth on this dive was 5.6 meters, which is 18.5 feet. The water temperature was 20 degrees, which is 68 degrees Fahrenheit, and the visibility on average was about 6 meters. If you've enjoyed this scuba diving adventure with Q, please leave a like and subscribe to see more. And if you have any questions, leave them down below. As soon as I see them, I'll get back to you. Thanks for watching.